The desert sun had only begun to breathe across the plains when Dr. Samuel Hayes stepped out of his cabin, rubbing the sleep from his eyes and stretching stiff muscles that had spent most of the night bent over a small wooden table. He had not slept much, only an hour, maybe two, but for the first time in months, exhaustion felt good. It felt earned. Inside his clinic, wrapped in a thin wool blanket and sleeping more peacefully than she had in a year, was a girl whose life had changed because of him. Her name was Ayanna, 12 years old, Apache, brave enough to stare down pain that would have broken grown men. And last night, she walked again. Samuel could still hear the echo of her laughter, shaky, surprised, overwhelmed, as her bare feet touched the wooden floor, trembling like a sapling in the wind. The moment her legs held her weight, even for a few seconds, she cried tears that ran down her cheeks like the river that carved through Oak Valley. Her father, White Hawk, a warrior with a face carved by years of drought, war, and silence, had fallen to his knees as if struck by the hand of God. She ran, stumbled, into his arms, and his fierce composure shattered. He held her like a man gripping a second chance. Samuel had stepped back then, giving them space, feeling something tighten inside his chest. He had always wanted to help people with his hands, not hurt them with guns like his father had. Healing felt like a rebellion he knew how to win. But as dawn widened across the horizon, he felt a strange weight settle in the air, heavy, tense, and almost physical, like a hand pressing against his shoulders. Something was wrong. The horses were restless. His dog, Ranger, kept pacing the edge of the porch, ears pinned back, growl low and constant. Then came the dust, a thick, rising cloud from beyond the ridge. At first, Samuel thought it was the morning wind dragging sand across the open land. But winds didn't march, winds didn't thunder, winds didn't shake the earth. Ranger growled louder. Within minutes, the dust parted into shapes, hundreds of them. Riders, warriors, all on horseback, their silhouettes tall and unbroken, moving like a tide across the desert floor. Samuel's heart kicked once, hard. He counted instinctively. 10 riders, then 20, 50, 100. By the time the first group reached the wooden split where 3 dirt roads left his property, the number had passed 200. By the time the second wave arrived, lances raised, feathers whipping in the desert air, it had grown to 400. And then came the rest. 600 Apache riders, the entire valley's warriors. Every road out of his land was blocked. Samuel's mouth went dry. He had helped Ayanna because she needed him. He did not expect payment. He did not expect attention. He definitely did not expect 600 warriors outside his cabin. Behind him, he heard soft footsteps. Ayanna. She stood at the doorway, leaning slightly on the frame, but her legs were straight. Her feet were firmly planted. Her blanket hung over her shoulders, her long black hair messy from sleep. Her eyes widened when she saw the riders. But she didn't look afraid. This was her people, her tribe, her family. "Papa is here," she whispered. Samuel swallowed. "I can see that." She turned her head, confusion washing over her expression. "Why do you sound worried?" Because 600 riders could level his home in minutes. Because the world did not usually reward good deeds. Because fear was easier to feel than gratitude. But he didn't say any of that. White Hawk appeared next. The man rode at the very front of the formation, his black horse towering, his posture unshakable. Beaded straps decorated his chest, scars ran across his forearms like maps of battle, and his eyes, dark, sharp, unwavering, locked onto Samuel. He dismounted wordlessly. Ayanna beamed and waved. White Hawk softened only for her, touching her forehead gently with 2 fingers. Then he faced Samuel again. And the desert went silent. Even the wind paused, as if waiting. Samuel exhaled slowly and stepped off the porch. "Morning," he said carefully. White Hawk did not blink. "You saved my daughter's spirit." Samuel nodded. "I only fixed her legs." "No," White Hawk said, stepping forward. "You gave her back her life." A murmur swept the riders behind him. Horses snorted. Warriors adjusted their grips on spears and bows. Not threatening. Acknowledging. Samuel forced a smile. "I'm glad I could help." White Hawk studied him for a long moment, then swept an arm out toward the massive formation of warriors surrounding the land. "My people stand here because of what you did. Samuel's pulse jumped. I didn't ask for. You did not have to ask, Whitehawk interrupted, voice rising like distant thunder. We came because you touched what we protect most fiercely. Our children, our blood, our future. Samuel's breath caught as the weight of the moment sank into him. 600 riders weren't here to threaten him. They were here to honor him. Ayanna moved to Samuel's side, smiling so bright it outshone the rising sun. They came to thank you. Samuel looked around. Every road, every exit, blocked. Not as a trap, but as a shield. Whitehawk stepped closer. Dr. Hayes. Last year, a raid from the south took many of our own. Disease took more. I feared my daughter would also be taken from me. I prayed for help. I prayed for a miracle. He touched Samuel's shoulder. And you came. Samuel's throat tightened. Anyone would have helped her. No, Whitehawk said simply. Not anyone. Many refused. Many feared us. Many turned away. Samuel lowered his gaze. He had heard the whispers. The fear. The prejudice. The warnings not to get involved with those people. But he didn't listen. Ayanna needed him. That was all he saw. Whitehawk lifted his chin. Today, we honor you in the only way our blood understands. With protection. With loyalty. With the full strength of our riders. A rider stepped forward with an eagle feather staff, its feathers shimmering with amber beads. Whitehawk took it and offered it to Samuel. Samuel froze. I can't take that. You must, Whitehawk insisted. It is our highest gift. Only one who has saved the life of a child may carry it. Ayanna touched the doctor's hand. Take it, please. Samuel's fingers closed around the staff, feeling its weight, its history, its meaning. The warriors lifted their weapons in unison. A single sound tore across the valley, a cry of honor, deep and powerful, vibrating the air like the heartbeat of the earth itself. Ayanna flinched, then laughed, covering her ears. Samuel felt tears burn his eyes, unexpected and raw. He had spent years traveling from town to town, never truly belonging anywhere. Healing strangers, patching wounds, crossing borders. But this moment, this overwhelming wave of gratitude and unity, felt like something he had never known. Belonging. Whitehawk stepped forward again. Dr. Hayes, from this day forward, you are a friend of the Apache. No rider will harm you. No warrior will deny you shelter. No tribe will refuse you food. You are protected in every direction the sun touches. Samuel swallowed hard. I don't know what to say. Say nothing, Whitehawk replied. Just continue healing. That is your gift. Ayanna tugged Samuel's sleeve. Papa says gifts must be honored. Maybe you can teach me how to help people too. Samuel blinked. You want to be a doctor? Ayanna nodded so eagerly. Her hair slapped her face. If I can walk, I can learn. Samuel laughed softly, ruffling her hair. Yes, you can. Whitehawk crossed his arms, pride shining through the stern lines of his face. She has chosen her path. Samuel glanced around at the sea of riders. What now? Whitehawk smiled. A small, rare, powerful smile. Now we ride home. And you rest. He turned to his people, raised his hand, and the riders parted like a wave. The roads, once blocked, now opened completely, as if carved by the will of 600 hearts. Ayanna hugged Samuel before running to her father's horse. She climbed on with only a slight tremble in her legs. Samuel stood there, eagle feather staff in hand, watching as the massive formation began to move, dust rising again but this time carrying gratitude instead of threat. Before leaving, Whitehawk looked back one last time. Dr. Hayes. Samuel lifted his chin. Yes, if ever you call us, Whitehawk said, voice steady as stone, 600 riders will answer. And then they were gone, leaving behind silence, dust, and the lingering warmth of a promise forged by kindness. Samuel looked at the empty roads, his clinic, the rising sun, and the staff in his hand. For the first time in a long while, he felt something settle deep inside him, purpose, belonging, peace. He whispered to himself, maybe this land is home after all. And inside the clinic, caught in the early beams of morning light, were Ayanna's tiny footprints on the wooden floor, proof that a miracle had walked there, and that kindness had echoed louder than fear.